A sickening crack echoed as Tom's knee shattered in the underground arena, his tortured screams starting chaos, neon lights blazing, a traitor's illegal strike firing up the crowd. Jason Statham, a die-hard MMA fan poised to unleash hell, burned with fury as Luke Carter's cocky smirk taunted the cage. A vengeful betrayal sparked a brutal showdown, Luke's arrogance fueling the crowd's roars. Blood sprayed, chains rattled, the air thick with bets and rage. Statham's fists tightened, his gaze piercing Luke's bravado, a cracked shin guard glinting beside Tom's crumpled form. But when Statham rose, would he crush Luke, or be broken? Who'd pay for Tom's shattered knee? This dramatized tale of retribution, raw and relentless, promised a clash to shake the arena's rusted soul. The crowd's chants swelled, neon pulsed, and a shadow loomed, ready to strike. Would justice triumph, or would Luke's taunts bury Statham's stand? The answer hung in the sweat-drenched haze, a heartbeat from erupting. Before we proceed, like and subscribe to catch Jason Statham's epic face-off with the MMA fighter and comment where you're watching from today. Blood-soaked mats pulsed under the underground arena's neon glare. The makeshift MMA cage, buried beneath a derelict warehouse, thrummed with raw energy. Flashing neon cast jagged shadows, the sharp tang of blood hung heavy, and frenzied bets roared from a sweat-drenched crowd. Chains rattled with every shift of the restless mob, boots scuffed against grimy concrete, and the air buzzed with a simmering tension that felt like a storm about to break. The arena was a brutal crucible, a place where fists carved legends or shattered dreams, where honor teetered on the edge of betrayal. Every shout, every flicker of light, pulsed like a warning, the cage a living beast hungry for its next sacrifice. Jason Statham, a die-hard MMA fan, sat in the crowd, grit etched in his piercing stare. His Muay Thai-honed frame was taut, muscles coiled beneath his plain jacket, as he gripped his seat, jaw clenched tight. He craved raw, fair fights, the kind where skill outshone trickery, where a man's heart proved stronger than his swagger. But his flaw, a bottled anger that simmered like a fuse, burned beneath his calm exterior, ready to ignite at the slightest injustice. His eyes, sharp as blades, scanned the cage, missing nothing. Not the flicker of a bettor's cash, not the twitch of a fighter's stance. He leaned forward, the tang of blood sharper now, his fingers digging into the seat's worn edge, a silent vow to honor the cage's unspoken code. In the ring, Tom Reed, a lean rookie, stretched nervously, his eager eyes darting to the roaring crowd. His lanky frame moved with cautious hope, each stretch a step toward his dream of rising in the unforgiving world of MMA. Sweat beaded on his brow, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted his gloves, the weight of the arena's gaze pressing down. He was no prodigy, just a kid with heart, chasing a chance to prove himself in a place that broke more than it built. His nervous energy was a spark, a flicker of defiance against the cage's brutal odds, his every move a quiet prayer to survive the night. Nearby, Ben Holt, a gruff trainer, paced the sidelines, barking drills in a gravelly voice that cut through the chaos like a whip. His weathered face, lined with years of fights and losses, was set in a permanent scowl, his eyes flicking between Tom and the crowd. "Keep your guard up, kid," he growled, his words sharp, his tone a mix of grit and guarded care. Ben's presence was a stark contrast to Statham's silent intensity, his barked commands grounding the arena's fevered pulse. His boots thudded on the concrete, his voice a steady rhythm against the crowd's erratic shouts, a man who'd seen too many dreams die in the cage but still fought to shape the next fighter. The crowd's bets surged, wads of cash waved like flags, their shouts a deafening storm. Neon flashed like a heartbeat, bathing the arena in a sickly glow, each pulse amplifying the tension. The air was thick with the stench of sweat and blood, the clatter of chains, and the low hum of anticipation. Statham's anger, a coiled spring, tightened with every roar, his fingers gouging the seat as he watched Tom's nervous stretches. The kid's hope was a fragile thing, a candle in a gale, and Statham felt it flicker in his own chest. Ben's growled orders, the crowd's fevered chants, and the cage's grim pulse painted a world teetering on the edge, where fairness hung by a thread. The cage's stench masked a traitor's plot, its pulse a warning of what lurked beneath the fights. Luke's smirk gleamed in the shadows, unnoticed by the roaring crowd, a spark that would soon set the arena ablaze. Statham's gaze lingered on the cage, his jaw tightening further, the tang of blood now a bitter taste. He wasn't here to fight, not yet, but the arena's pulse called to him, a challenge he couldn't ignore. Tom's eager eyes, Ben's gruff commands, and the crowd's relentless bets were a tapestry of hope and greed, a stage where Statham's stand was only moments away. A sickening crack silenced the underground arena as Tom's knee shattered. Luke Carter, his face twisted with cocky vengeance, illegally smashed his elbow into Tom's knee during a sparring break, bones splintering under the brutal blow. Blood sprayed across the mat, neon flared in the warehouse's gloom, and Tom wailed, collapsing in agony, his dream of MMA glory crumbling with his leg. The crowd's roars faltered, bettors shouting, "Finish him!" While fighters shifted uneasily, the air thick with the tang of blood and betrayal. Luke's smirk gleamed, his arrogance a blade sharper than his strike, reveling in his dirty win after 3 humiliating losses to Tom in prior spars. The cage's chains rattled, the neons hiss a mocking echo, as Tom's pained gasps cut through the chaos, his eager eyes now clouded with shock. Jason Statham leaped to his feet, fists shaking, fury surging through his Muay Thai-honed frame. "You're done, Carter," he roared, his voice a rising growl that sliced the arena's din, his protective instinct blazing like a wildfire. His jaw, clenched tight from watching the cage, twitched, memories of unfair fights flashing, cheap shots, rigged bets, broken spirits. The crowd's jeers swelled, some chanting Luke's name, others stunned, their bets a corrupt tide emboldening Luke's violence. The arena's underbelly, a festering pit of greed, threatened every rookie who dared dream like Tom, its neon pulse fueling a cycle of brutality Statham despised. He stood, heart pounding, the tang of blood sharper, his bottled anger a volcano ready to erupt. Luke strutted, flexing, his taunt a venomous jab, "Sit down, fanboy." The crowd laughed, bettors waving cash, their shouts a storm drowning Tom's whimpers. Ben Holt, pacing the sidelines, froze, his gravelly voice silent, eyes darting to Statham, a flicker of respect in his scowl. The cage's mats, soaked with Tom's blood, seemed to pulse under the flashing neon, the air heavy with sweat and greed. Statham's fists tightened, his gaze locked on Luke's smirk, the same smirk that had gleamed unnoticed in the crowd's shadows earlier. Tom's crumpled form, clutching his ruined knee, was a mirror to every fighter Statham had seen cheated in this pit, their hopes crushed by men like Luke. The arena's corruption wasn't just Luke's doing, it was the bets, the blind eyes, the cage's rusted soul. Statham's anger, a coiled spring from his seat-gripping tension, burned hotter, his resolve hardening. He saw Tom's eager eyes fade, Ben's barked drills now mute, the crowd's greed a noose around the sport he loved. The neon flared brighter, the crowd's chants a relentless tide, but Statham's focus was a blade, cutting through the noise. He took a step, boots scuffing the concrete, the cage looming like a beast. Luke's taunt echoed, the crowd's jeers a taunting wave, but Statham's heart thundered, his protective fire unyielding. The arena's flickering lights cast jagged shadows, the stench of blood and sweat choking the air, each bettor's shout a stab at fairness. Statham's mind raced, every dirty fight he'd witnessed, every rookie broken by arrogance, now boiled down to this moment. Tom's wail was a call, a plea for the cage to be more than a graveyard of dreams. Ben's nod, subtle but firm, urged Statham forward, his gravelly voice still silent but his eyes shouting support. The crowd's bets surged, fighters leaned in, the cage's pulse quickening, a storm ready to break. Statham paused, the crowd's gasp swelling, a hush rippling as Luke flexed, oblivious to the storm he'd unleashed. Statham's choice was iron, his voice a sharp, steely vow with a deep drop, "I'll make you pay, Carter." He strode toward the cage, each step a hammer, the neons hiss a battle cry, the tang of blood a call to justice. The crowd shouts peaked, bettors waving frenzied cash, Ben's scowl softening to a grim smile, the arena trembling. Tom's pained gasps lingered, a plea Statham answered, his fury a beacon in the gloom. One blow shattered more than bone, it sparked a war, a dramatized clash where retribution would rise, the cage's rusted chains quivering for what came next. Luke's venomous taunt echoed through the cage's roar. "Just a fanboy," he sneered at Jason Statham, striding toward the underground arena's blood-stained mat, the crowd's jeers a stinging wave. Bettors shoved, waving cash, their shouts, "He's nobody!" Cutting deep as neon burned, its harsh light searing the warehouse's gloom. The air reeked of sweat and blood, chains rattling with each jeer, the cage a beast feeding on chaos. Statham's Muay Thai-honed frame tensed, his jaw tight, the same fury that had surged when Luke shattered Tom's knee now afire in his veins. The crowd's taunts, a relentless tide from the Catalyst event, mocked his vow. "I'll make you pay." Testing his grit in the arena's brutal crucible. Ben Holt, the gruff trainer, gripped Statham's arm, his gravelly voice a low growl. "Watch his elbows, kid." His weathered eyes, sharp from years of cage-side scars, scanned Luke's swagger, offering fight tactics honed by bitter losses. Ben's boots scuffed the concrete, his pacing a steady rhythm against the crowd's frenzy, his words a lifeline in the neon's glare. Statham nodded, heart pounding, but doubt crept in, a shaky whisper escaping, "I'm no pro." Memories of a lost street fight years ago. Fists too slow, a crowd's laughter, flooded back, his bottled anger from watching Tom's ruin now tangled with fear. Was he just a fan, out of his depth in this pit of greed? Ben's gaze softened, his gravelly voice warm as he leaned closer. "Luke cheated a rookie I trained, broke his spirit with a dirty trick," he said, the tale a wound still raw. "You're here for Tom, trust that." The story, a mirror to Luke's betrayal, built a bridge of trust, Ben's hand steady on Statham's arm, a silent vow to fight the cage's corruption. The crowd's bet soared, neon flickering like a dying star, the air thick with the tang of blood and desperation. Statham's doubt lingered, his fists clenching, the cracked shin guard from Tom's fall a ghost in his mind, urging retribution. The arena's pulse quickened, bettors shoving closer, their shouts, "Carter's got this!" A dagger to Statham's resolve. Fighters murmured, some eyeing Luke's swagger, others glancing at Tom's crumpled form, still clutching his ruined knee off stage. The cage's stench, a mix of blood and sweat, choked the air, the neons burn a taunt to Statham's courage. His heart raced, the crowd's greed a noose tightening, echoing the corrupt bets that emboldened Luke's violence. Ben's tactics, keep moving, strike low, ran through Statham's mind, but the cage loomed, its rusted chains a challenge he wasn't sure he could meet. Then, a setback struck. Luke's goon, a hulking brute, tripped Statham as he neared the cage, his boot slamming Statham's shin. Statham stumbled, goons circling, their grins feral as bets rigged against him soared. The crowd roared, "He's done!" Neon flaring, the arena's corruption a tidal wave. Statham caught himself, pain shooting through his leg, his shaky whisper swallowed by the din. "I can't fail Tom." Ben's gravelly shout, "Get up!" cut through, his eyes fierce, urging Statham to rise. The cage demanded more than courage, its pulse a warning of the war ahead. Statham stood, fists tight, the crowd's jeers a fading echo, his doubt a shadow against his burning resolve. The neon's flicker, the blood's tang, and Ben's steady grip grounded him, the cracked shin guard's memory a call to fight. Luke's smirk, gleaming from the cage, was a spark to Statham's anger, retribution pulsing in his veins. The arena's chaos, the bettor's greed, and the goon's circling threat only sharpened his focus. He took a step, boots firm, ready to face the cage, the dramatized clash of justice against betrayal trembling in the air, the crowd's roar a heartbeat for what came next. Ben's whisper cut through the cage's roar, Luke meant to cripple Tom. The underground arena's neon flared, blood stench lingered, the crowd's bets a frenzied hum as Ben's words struck like a blade. Luke Carter had planned to break Tom's knee, a calculated act of cruelty to erase his 3 humiliating losses in prior spars, redefining the conflict from a vengeful strike to a predator's hunt. The warehouse's gloom pulsed, chains rattling, the cage a crucible where Luke's arrogance thrived on shattered dreams. The crowd surged, bettors shouting, "Carter's king!" unaware of the traitor's plot that had sparked Statham's stand in the Catalyst event. The air, thick with sweat and greed, tightened, a storm brewing beneath the flickering neon. Jason Statham stumbled back, breath catching, his shock a heavy quake. "He targeted him," he whispered, voice a shaky gasp, his Muay Thai-honed frame trembling as anger flared, a wildfire stoked by Luke's betrayal. Memories of past injustices, fighters cheated, crowds blind to truth, flooded his mind, his clenched jaw from the cage's edge now a vice. The crowd's jeers, echoing the early challenge's taunts, stung sharper, bettors cash waving like flags, their greed a mirror to Luke's cruelty. Luke's rigged wins, built on dirty tricks, would doom other rookies to brutal, unfair fights, the arena's corruption a noose tightening around every hopeful like Tom. Statham's heart pounded, neon burning his eyes, the cage's stench a call to act. Ben Holt, his gravelly voice thick with regret, leaned closer, eyes downcast. "I failed a rookie once," he admitted, his words a wound. Luke cheated him, broke his arm with a dirty hold, and I did nothing. The confession, a mirror to Tom's shattered knee, strained their trust, Ben's weathered face etched with shame, his pacing from the sidelines now a ghost. The crowd's shouts swelled, neon flickering, the air heavy with blood's tang and betrayal. Statham's shock hardened, his fists clenching, the cracked shin guard from Tom's fall a searing image, retribution pulsing in his veins. Ben's regret, raw and gravelly, was a plea for redemption, a bond forged in the cage's brutal truth. The arena's pulse quickened, betters surging, their chants, Luke's unstoppable. A dagger to Statham's resolve. Fighters murmured, some eyeing Luke's strut, others glancing at Tom's offstage agony, his wail still echoing from the Catalyst event. The cage's mats, slick with blood, gleamed under flashing neon, the crowds greed a storm drowning Statham's vow. Luke's cruelty ran deeper than the cage, a plot to crush not just Tom but every rookie daring to rise. Statham's breath steadied, the crowd's jeers a fading hum, his shock now a blade sharpened by Ben's truth. The neon's flare, the blood stench, and the cage's rattle were a call, a challenge he couldn't ignore. He paused, the crowd's gasps swelling, a hush rippling as Luke flexed in the cage, his smirk a taunt from the shadows. Statham's recommitment was iron, his voice a fierce, gritty snarl, I'll break him. The words, born from the fury of Tom's pain and Ben's regret, embraced vengeance, a vow to end Luke's reign. The crowd's bet soared, neon pulsing like a heartbeat, the air thick with anticipation. Ben's nod, firm and gravelly, sealed their pact, his eyes gleaming with hope. The cage loomed, its rusted chains trembling, the dramatized clash of retribution against cruelty ready to erupt. Statham's stand, a beacon in the gloom, burned brighter, the crowd's roar a pulse for justice, the arena's soul teetering on the edge of reckoning. Luke's goons stalked, the cage's neon thirsting for Statham's blood. The underground arena roared, its blood-soaked mats quaking as Jason Statham pushed toward the cage, his vow, I'll break him, from moments ago now afire in his chest. Luke's hulking goons shoved him back, fists grazing his jaw, pain flaring like a spark. Betters surged, their shouts, Carter's got him! A deafening storm, neon flaring, blood stench thickening in the warehouse's gloom. The cage's chains groaned, mats slick with Tom's blood, the air a cauldron of sweat and greed. Statham's Muay Thai honed frame staggered, his boots slipping, the crowd's bet spiking, rigged to crown Luke. The arena's corruption, a festering wound from Luke's planned maiming of Tom, would breed more maimed rookies, dooming every hopeful who stepped into this pit. The neon's hiss mocked Statham's stand, the crowd's greed a noose tightening around his resolve. Ben Holt darted through the chaos, his gravelly voice a warm anchor. Low kicks, aim for his knees, he rasped, slipping Statham a fight move scribbled on a torn ticket, his eyes fierce with defiance. He defied the arena's bosses, risking banishment from the cage he'd called home for decades, his weathered hands trembling as he pressed the note into Statham's palm. Make him pay for Tom, Ben urged, his gravelly pitch thick with conviction, a bond forged in the midpoint twist's shared regret over Luke's cruelty. The crowd's chants swelled, neon flickering like a dying pulse, the air heavy with the tang of blood and desperation. Statham clutched the note, heart racing, Ben sacrificed a spark to his fading grit, the cracked shin guard from Tom's fall a burning image in his mind. But the obstacles grew fiercer. A goon's fist grazed Statham's arm, pain searing, the crowd's jeers. He's done. A blade to his spirit. Fighters whispered, some eyeing Luke's strut, others murmuring about Tom's offstage agony, his wail from the Catalyst event still a ghost in the air. The cage loomed, its rusted frame a taunt, bets rigged against Statham soaring as goons circled, their grins feral. Statham's breath hitched, his arm throbbing, and he slumped against the cage, despair a trembling whisper, I can't win. Memories of past failures, a brawl lost to a cheap shot, a crowd's laughter, crashed over him, his bottled anger from the world introduction now a weight, not a weapon. The neon flared, blood stench choking, the crowd's greed a storm drowning his vow. The arena's pulse pounded, betters shoving closer, their cash a corrupt tide echoing the Catalyst events, corrupt bets emboldened Luke's violence. The cage's mats, slick with blood, gleamed under flickering neon, the air a furnace of anticipation. Statham's despair deepened, his slumped frame a shadow of the man who'd roared, I'll make you pay. Luke's smirk, gleaming from the cage, was a dagger, his planned cruelty a poison spreading beyond Tom. The crowd's chants, "Carter's king!" mocked Statham's stand, fighters shifting, some nodding to Luke, others glancing at Ben, whose gravelly shout, "Fight, damn it!" cut through the din. Ben's note burned in Statham's hand, its words, "Low kicks, strike fast, a lifeline." The trainer's defiance, risking all for Tom's justice, was a spark, reigniting Statham's grit. He pushed off the cage, pain pulsing, the crowd's jeers fading to a hum. His eyes locked on Luke, the shin guard's memory a call to retribution, his anger a blade sharpened by Ben's trust. The neon's flicker, the blood's tang, and the cage's groan were a war drum, urging him forward. The crowd's bets, the goons circling, and the arena's corruption were no longer a noose but a challenge he'd meet head-on. Statham stood tall, fists clenched, a desperate plan forming, his voice a rising, gritty snarl. He'll feel Tom's agony. He vowed to break Luke's knees, a mirror to Tom's shattered dream, the cage hungering for a victim no longer Statham but Luke. The crowd's gasps swelled, neon pulsing, Ben's gravelly nod a silent cheer, the air trembling with retribution's weight. The dramatized clash loomed, Statham's stand a beacon in the gloom, the cage's rusted soul quivering. The crowd's roar, the goons' glares, and the arena's pulse surged, a storm ready to break, Statham's plan a fire to burn Luke's cruelty to ash. The cage would crown a victor, or a corpse. Jason Statham stormed the underground arena, Luke Carter's smirk a venomous taunt, the neon flaring as the crowd's roars shook the warehouse. His boots slammed the blood-soaked mat, Muay Thai hone frame a coiled spring, his vow, he'll feel Tom's agony, a raging inferno in his chest. Luke strutted, flexing, his knees unscarred, his arrogance a blade sharpened by Tom's shattered dream. The air choked with blood stench, neon hissing like a serpent, the cage's chains rattling as if roused for slaughter. Betters surged, shouting, "Carter's unstoppable!" Their voices a deafening storm, but Statham's gaze, sharp as forged steel, sliced through the chaos, heart thundering with retribution's pulse. The crowd's frenzy, a relentless tide of corrupt bets, fueled Luke's cruelty, but Statham's resolve burned brighter, a beacon in the flickering gloom. The fight erupted like a thunderclap. Statham unleashed a barrage of Muay Thai kicks, his low roundhouse slamming Luke's left knee, bone cracking with a sickening snap that echoed Tom's agony. Luke staggered, his smirk twisting to a grimace, but he lunged, a wild elbow grazing Statham's cheek, blood spraying across the mat. The crowd gasped, neon flaring, mats quaking under the impact. Statham ducked, his spinning back kick crashing into Luke's right knee, another crack splitting the air, sharp and final. Luke collapsed, wailing, legs buckling like snapped twigs, the cage's neon burning his defeat into the crowd's eyes. Bettors clutched cash, their rigged bets crumbling, some shouting, "He's down!" Others frozen, jaws slack. The air pulsed with sweat and fear, chains groaning, blood stench surging, a beast sated by Luke's fall. Statham loomed, fist raised, Luke's pained eyes pleading, his wails a pathetic echo of Tom's screams. The crowd's roars faded to a hush, neon flickering like a dying star, the stench of blood thick as Statham's breath heaved. His bottled anger, a volcano since he first gripped his seat, surged, urging him to crush Luke's smug face. But he paused, fist trembling, Tom's hopeful eyes flashing in his mind, a rookie whose dream Luke had shattered with a planned, vicious strike. "For Tom, not rage," Statham snarled, voice a rising snarl, lowering his fist, choosing justice over vengeance. The crowd's gasps swelled, neon dimming, the air heavy with awe. Statham's growth, a shift from fury to honor, shone like a blade, forged in Tom's pain and Ben's trust, a vow to end the arena's corruption without becoming its monster. Ben Holt rushed to Statham, his gravelly voice booming, "You did it, kid!" He clapped Statham's shoulder, eyes gleaming, weathered face alight with pride, a bond sealed through shared defiance. Ben's boots scuffed the mat, his shout cutting through the crowd's erupting cheers, a beacon of hope in the warehouse's gloom. The crowd's roar shifted. "Statham! Statham!" Bettors fleeing, stuffing cash in pockets, the rigged bets that had crowned Luke now ash. Fighters cheered, raising fists, murmuring Tom's name. His agony a spark Statham's stand had fanned into a fire. The neon flared one last time, then softened, the cage's mat slick with Luke's defeat, the air trembling with a new pulse, justice. Luke fainted, wails silenced, body limp on the mat, the crowd's cheers a tidal wave drowning his arrogance. The arena's corruption, a festering wound from Luke's planned maiming, was exposed, consequences rippling like a shockwave. Bettors fled, their shouts fading, arena bosses glaring from the shadows, their rigged system crumbling. Fighters pledged fair fights, tossing betting slips, nodding to Statham, the cage no longer a pit of greed but a crucible reborn. The air cleared, blood stench fading, neons hiss a quiet hum, the warehouse's gloom lifting as the crowd's chants grew. Tom's name, Statham's triumph, a vow to end the dirty tricks that had broken so many. Statham stood, chest heaving, blood trickling from his cheek, the cracked shin guard a searing image, a symbol of Tom's pain and his own fight. The crowd's cheers, once a storm of greed, now a hymn of redemption, echoed Ben's gravelly pride, a testament to their shared struggle. His mind raced, every rookie cheated, every unfair blow witnessed, answered in this moment. The cage's chains, once a taunt, hung still, neon's soft glow a promise of change. He glanced at Ben, whose nod was a silent oath, their bond a fire kindled by Tom's pain and Luke's betrayal. Fighters stepped onto the mat, eyes bright with hope, the arena's rusted soul stirring. The fight's chaos replayed in Statham's mind, Luke's elbow, Tom's wail, the crowd's greed, Ben's note. Each moment, a thread in retribution's tapestry, had led here. He'd faced goons, doubt, and Luke's taunts, his anger a weight he'd carried since stumbling under the crowd's jeers. But the cage tested more than fists, it forged his heart, teaching him to fight for truth, not rage. The crowd's chants grew, "Justice! Justice!" Fighters raising Tom's name, bettors cash abandoned, the arena's corruption a fading shadow. Statham's stand had shifted the cage's pulse, a vow to protect every rookie like Tom, whose eager eyes sparked this war. The neon dimmed, air softening, mats no longer a graveyard but a stage for honor. Statham's breath steadied, crowd's roars a heartbeat, Ben's gravelly cheer a steady drum. The warehouse's gloom lifted, blood's tang a faint memory, chains silent. Statham's victory wasn't Luke's defeat, it was a promise to burn away the arena's greed. Fighters nodded, some kneeling by the mat, honoring Tom's pain. The arena, once a beast, hummed with hope, its pulse a vow to fight fair, to rise above Luke's corruption. The crowd's cheers swelled, a unified roar, fighters clasping hands, some weeping for Tom, others shouting for justice. Neon's glow softened, a gentle promise, the air carrying hope where greed once choked. Statham's stand reshaped the cage, a fire that cleansed its rusted soul. Bettors' shouts died, their cash left in piles, the boss's glares impotent against the crowd's will. Fighters vowed to train clean, to honor Tom's dream, the cage a sanctuary reborn. Statham's heart pounded, the cracked shin guard a weight in his mind, a reminder of why he fought, not for glory, but for truth. He scanned the crowd, their faces a mosaic of awe and resolve, the arena's pulse no longer a taunt but a call. Ben's gravelly voice rang, "You showed him!" His pride a warmth that wrapped Statham, their bond a testament to Tom's fight. The warehouse's shadows retreated, neons hum a quiet vow, the cage's mats gleaming with new purpose. Statham's fight wasn't just for Tom, it was for every rookie crushed by greed, every dream broken by betrayal. The crowd's chants softened, a fighter's fist raised, another's head bowed, the air alive with redemption. What's Statham's next stand for justice? Comment below. Statham's reflection trembled, voice a soft, quivering whisper, "Tom's pain taught us, truth prevails." He honored Tom, the rookie whose shattered knee ignited this clash, the cracked shin guard a symbol of their shared fight. The crowd's chants faded, fighters weeping, clasping hands, neon's glow a gentle promise. Ben's gravelly voice joined, for Tom, a quiet echo, his pride a warmth that wrapped the cage. The air, once thick with greed, carried hope, shadows retreating, the cage a crucible reborn. Statham's stand, a dramatized triumph, burned eternal, the arena's soul forever changed. What bloomed from the cage's blood-stained ashes? The underground arena, once a pit of greed, stood transformed, its mats scrubbed clean, hope pulsing where despair had reigned. Neon glowed steady, no longer flashing with the frenzy of corrupt bets, the warehouse's air clear, blood stench faded to a faint memory. Fighters trained fairly, their gloves thumping in rhythm, laughter mingling with the clink of chains, a stark shift from the roars that had crowned Luke Carter's cruelty. The cage's rusted frame, a silent witness to Statham's triumph, hummed with a new purpose, its neon a beacon of redemption. The crowd, once a storm of jeers, now gathered quietly, their cheers for Statham a hymn that lingered from his stand, a vow to honor Tom's shattered dream. Jason Statham stood at the cage's edge, chest still, his reflection quivering softly. Tom's eager eyes taught me, fight for the fallen. His voice, steady yet trembling, carried the weight of his growth, the bottled anger that had burned when he first saw Tom's pain now afire for justice. Tom's hopeful gaze, bright before Luke's betrayal, had sparked this fight, a lesson etched in Statham's heart. Truth outlasted rage. The neon's glow warmed his face, the crowd's murmurs a gentle tide, fighters' drills a steady drum. His mind traced the journey, Luke's taunt, Ben's trust, the cage's test, each moment forging a man who fought not for vengeance but for those broken by greed. The shin guard's crack, a searing image, anchored his resolve, a vow to protect every rookie like Tom. Ben Holt coached Tom's recovery off stage, his gravelly voice guiding, "Slow steps, kid, you'll fight again." His weathered hands steadied Tom's crutches, eyes fierce with pride, a bond forged through Statham's victory. The crowd, once swayed by Luke's arrogance, burned betting slips, their flames flickering under neon's glow, a pledge to end the corrupt bets that had fueled Tom's maiming. Fighters clasped hands, vowing fair bouts, their murmurs hinting at future fights, a spark of battles yet to come. The air, heavy with emotion, carried their resolve, the warehouse's shadows retreating, neon steady as a heartbeat. Statham watched, heart swelling, the cage no longer a beast but a sanctuary, its pulse a promise to rise above betrayal. Retribution burned in Statham's grip on Tom's cracked shin guard, a vow to protect, its weight a solemn oath narrated with gravity. The guard, scuffed from Tom's fall, was more than metal. It was Tom's dream, Statham's fight, the crowd's awakening. The neon's hum softened, the mats clean sent a stark contrast to the blood that had soaked them. Fighters trained, their punches sharp but fair, some glancing at Statham, eyes bright with gratitude. The crowd's chants faded, replaced by quiet resolve, betters greed a memory, the arena's bosses gone, their power broken. Statham's stand had cleansed the cage, a fire that burned away Luke's corruption, leaving hope in its wake. The warehouse's air stirred, neon casting a gentle glow, the cage's chains silent, no longer rattling with greed. Statham's reflection lingered, his quivering voice a steady anchor, the shin guard a talisman of retribution. Ben's gravelly commands, Tom's cautious steps, and the fighter's drills wove a tapestry of renewal, the arena reborn under Statham's fire. The crowd's murmurs grew, some fighters kneeling, honoring Tom's pain, others sparring with newfound honor. The mats, once a graveyard, now gleamed, the air alive with possibility, the cage a crucible for dreams. Statham stepped into the cage, sparring gently with Tom, his voice warm, "The cage will mend your dream." Tom's crutches leaned against the mat, his eyes bright again, a spark of the hope that had driven him before Luke's strike. The crowd watched, some clapping, others silent, their unity a vow to fight fair. Ben's gravelly cheer, "Keep going!" echoed, his pride a warmth that wrapped the arena. The neon glowed, hope pulsed, the warehouse's gloom a distant memory. Statham's stand, a dramatized triumph, burned eternal, the cage a sanctuary where truth prevailed, its soul forever changed. What endured in the cage's neon glow? Jason Statham and Tom Reed sparred gently in the underground arena, neon humming, sweat gleaming on their brows, Tom's cracked shin guard glinting on a weathered crate. The warehouse's air cleared, the blood stench a distant memory, replaced by the clean scent of effort and hope. The cage, once a crucible of greed, stood as a sanctuary, its mats polished, chains silent, the neon's steady pulse a testament to Statham's triumph. Fighters trained nearby, their punches sharp but fair, laughter weaving through the rhythmic thump of gloves, a melody of renewal. The crowd, now a community, watched quietly, their chants of justice. From Statham's stand a lingering echo, the arena's rusted soul reborn under a gentle light. Statham paused, his epilogue a quivering vow. "I'll guard Tom's dream." His voice, thick with closure, carried the weight of Tom's shattered knee, a promise to shield every rookie from the betrayal that had sparked this fight. The neon's hum softened, the shin guard's gleam a symbol of retribution, a vow etched in Statham's heart. Truth triumphs over vengeance, he thought, his sincere reflection a quiet fire, honoring the cage's hard-won honor. The fighter's drills, Tom's cautious steps, and the crowd's unity were a tapestry of redemption, the arena a beacon where hope outshone greed. How did Statham's fight inspire you? Like, share, stay tuned. Another cage beckons. The crowd's murmurs faded, some fighters nodding, others clasping hands, the neons glow a gentle promise. Statham's stand, a dramatized triumph, burned eternal, its legacy a spark for future fights. The warehouse's shadows were gone, the cage's mats a stage for dreams, its pulse a vow to fight for truth.